For this episode of Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics, I'm not going to be reading any comics because, well, I did read some, but I'm going to hold those off for like an overall view, most notably Space Ghost and Flash Gordon and that sort of thing. But in the meantime, some big news came along. Two items, actually. And granted, the comic book world is rather small overall, but still big within the confines of it. And it does overlap with other. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that. But anyway, I've got bad news and 6 sad news. We'll go with the 6 sad news first. Sandman writer Neil Gaiman faces new sexual assault allegations on top of other ones that he's had. This is a story that's been kind of percolating around industry people saying, but now it's just not going to stop. So anyway, once again, here at Cosmic Book News, who summarizes it up very easily and nicely for my purposes. You know, so even an idiot like me can follow. Really? Okay. Neil Gaiman, who is known as the writer of the Sandman, among other things, but Sandman's his big baby, is facing more accusations of sexual assault. Following last summer, when 2 women came forward accusing Gaiman of sexual assault, now New York Magazine covers additional accusations. Be forewarned, if you decided to click over and read the entire article in length, there is disturbing content of alleged rape and even torture. Apparently you can't. Yeah, anyway. The in-depth article goes over how more women shared allegations of assault, coercion, and abuse, which includes over a dozen women said to be involved. According to the article, Gaiman, a descendant of Polish Jewish immigrants, may have also suffered abuse and torture as a child at the hands of his parents, who were deeply involved in the early days of the Church of Scientology. They were high-level initiates and had a personal connection to the church's founder, L. Ron Hubbard, for 2 years. They lived down the street from Hubbard and near the worldwide headquarters of the Church of Scientology. According to the claims in the article, it appears that Gaiman targeted a specific type of girl, particularly young goth-type girls, who were often in difficult circumstances. He allegedly manipulated them using his money. Many of these girls were reportedly fans or individuals whom he and his wife hired to work as nannies. It is also claimed that his wife was aware of these relationships and that the two were in an open marriage. In a situation that sounds like something straight out of one of his stories, it's claimed by multiple girls that Neil Gaiman demanded they call him Master, with one stating he also insisted she promise him her soul. Interestingly, the podcast that first exposed these allegations is also called Master. Gaiman's representatives deny the allegations in the article, stating that all interactions were consensual. Gaiman and his wife have reportedly been going through a bitter divorce, with claims that he has bled her dry during the proceedings. It is also alleged that his wife was a major force behind the emergence of the new allegations. Well, I bet. Following the allegations last July, Good Omens on Amazon Prime Video was canceled, which of course, is Gaiman's property. Well, the story, anyway, that inspired it, was canceled and finished early with a 190-minute episode instead of getting a 3rd season. Gaiman still has an I want to say Anasazi, but it's not Anansi, boys. Coming to Prime Video, and The Sandman Season 2 is due out later this year on Netflix. Well, the usual run for Netflix series is 2 seasons, but something like Sandman probably had the potential to be to go longer than that. But with something like this, that's probably it. You know, Sandman was a big deal in the '90s. And it's taken this long. There was always talk of a movie or, different approaches to it. And finally, this series, which for a long running series like Sandman, an actual, television or streaming series would, have the opportunity of fleshing the story out a lot more for all the different avenues. Because in a lot of ways, it was more anthology than an ongoing arc, which it was both, but nevertheless, that would be more appropriate to it. He was one of these British writers who came along with like Alan Moore and Grant Morrison. Moore being the big guy of the batch, but then Gaiman followed along, and he hit big with Sandman, and then this, and there was always weird sexual things in around his stories, not always, but it was there. And so now everyone looks back and says, So I guess that's how the master rolls. I don't know. But there is a divorce, so there is that consensual nature. There was quite the age gap between him and these ladies, and the idea that it now comes to the forefront in the midst of this divorce when before nothing was said, it is worth noting, but at the same time, he's probably a very weird guy, and it's just bad all around. Even if no criminal jeopardy comes his way, this is extremely damaging to his career and to the properties he's associated with. Meanwhile, in comic books overall, Diamond Distributors has declared bankruptcy. Who could have seen it? Well, it was bound to happen sooner or later. Diamond Comic Distributors has announced it has filed for bankruptcy and that all of its assets are on the table to be sold off. Below, you can read the message from Chuck Parker, president. Okay, we have the message. There's the message. But according to the message, we'll go through the summary. Diamond will be selling off its Alliance Game Distributors division and its Diamond UK division to Universal Distribution, the distributor of DC Comics. The message says, "We remain committed to pursuing offers for all Diamond lines of business." Parker adds Diamond will remain open and will be fulfilling all orders. According to the bankruptcy documents, Diamond lists 30 unsecured creditors. These creditors are owed amounts ranging from $9.2 million down to $163,000. Penguin Random House, the supplier for Marvel Comics and others, is identified as the largest creditor, being owed $9.2 million, followed by Bandai, $4.3 million, and NECA, $2.68 million. So, press release, Diamond Comic Distributors files voluntary petition for relief. The company received commitments for $41 million in DIP financing. Universal Distribution has made $39 million stalking horse bid for Alliance Game Distributors and non-binding letter of intent to buy Diamond UK. Diamond Comic Distributors, or Diamond the company, today announced that it's filed. There's the release. So Diamond has been a linchpin of the comic book industry for over 4 decades. Our priority has always been to provide quality service to publishers, retailers, and ultimately comic fans. And we remain committed to finding additional buyers for our businesses. Universal Distribution is looking forward to working with the Alliance and Diamond UK teams to bring a stronger balance sheet and growth opportunities to retailers and suppliers. Both companies have deep roots in the industry, and we look forward to continuing that into the future. Well, there you go. Diamond, the reason it got fat and lazy, and because it could. It's a very small market, so they never got into any antitrust problems. But for a very real account of this is they were a monopoly in the comic book market, certainly in the American sphere. And when that happens, you really don't have to improve anything, and people can gripe, but tough. Well, eventually that wasn't the case, and DC Comics broke from them. Marvel eventually broke from them. The lockdowns during COVID was really the last straw for this, and a lot of people were mad at DC for breaking first and all this sort of thing. But Diamond put itself in this position, and a lot of that is the result for the position they held as far as being the only go-to distributor. And well, here they are. And turns out there's other avenues. And so what happens? You can't make a deal with these big companies in the comic book industry. Well, you lose. The sad part about it is a lot of people, some have made the point that smaller press publishers would get hurt by this because Diamond was their go-to. These replacements that DC and Marvel have gone to might not really, and for right now, it looks like now they're not really interested in really small press publishers. So how many of those are still surviving in this? I don't know, but nevertheless, it is a factor, but it's not the major concern here when you're in this dire of straits. So it's ultimately their own practices that put them here, and because they thought they could. That's the problem. Competition will keep you in shape for the most part. There wasn't any for a long time, and here you are. So there you go. Oh boy, the bad news about Diamond, some are cheering it because of how they were treated by them and all this sort of thing. So okay, but it's bad news for a lot of people who probably were innocent in all of this. But nevertheless, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And in the other news, really sick and disturbing. Even if he's ultimately exonerated in the overall sexual assault charge, but still an admitted creepy guy, Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Wednesday Comics with your old pal, Mr. Nailsin. We'll do it again soon. I don't know if I'll be doing it like this, but nevertheless, if I don't get to my stack of comics, because a lot of them are ones I want, again, Space Ghost and Flash Gordon, that'll probably be a while down the road. I do have to get back to Green Goblin. I've seriously been considering not doing the Wednesday Comics show. That might happen. I mean, I'm really stretched for time and stuff like that. I'm not blaming the viewers. I don't get a lot of views. I don't get a lot of views altogether, but nevertheless, I gotta mete out something here. So that might happen. But things like I said, the Green Goblin series going into the Hobgoblin is something I've wanted to do, and I'll continue to do it. It might just become a regular Nailsin ratings thing or something like that. But so it'll probably be a Green Goblin video next Wednesday. But then again, maybe I'll have something else by then. There's 7 days until then now. More than enough time. Well, not really. Not for me. No. Anyway, again, thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon.